Hello everyone, my name is Keanu and I'm going to be reviewing the first episode of Amazing Race 37. I just watched it and I jotted down some notes and some quick thoughts, and I just thought I'd put together a video because I don't really have anyone else to talk about it. So if you love the Amazing Race like me and want to converse, just leave down the comments and we'll have a conversation. But yeah, Amazing Race is my favorite TV show of all time, like number one. I actually applied for this season with my cousin, but we never got a phone call back. It probably will never happen. So the next best thing is I get to talk about it. So yeah, let's just get straight into it. The thing with the Amazing Race is they've tended to do these previews at the beginning of the episode. It gives you kind of like a snapshot of the rest of the season and kind of like a montage. And I always fast forward it because there is some big spoilers, and I don't know why they do it. Probably because they don't care. Like if Superfan or someone's like watching like me, like I pay attention to who's being shown and who's not. So I always fast forward that part. They should take a note from Survivor, where in Survivor they don't show future challenges, so you're not spoiled on who gets far or not. So anyways, I hate that. The intro was, I thought, one of the best intros, the one where they play the Amazing Race theme. Everyone's poses were on point, and I'm not photogenic. I think mine would be terrible, but there were some unique poses, which was appreciated, and everyone was just super photogenic. So yeah, I love me a good Amazing Race intro. In seasons past, it just seems like some teams, it just kind of stops kind of mid-cut and it's kind of awkward, but this one, it felt nice and solid. People were striking a good pose. I really enjoyed that they're doing 14 teams for the first time. I think the more teams, the merrier. It just creates more of a competition, and this is a competition show. So similar to Survivor, when they do like a 20-person season versus 18, I just think it's more competitive. There's more teams you could root for, root against, and I enjoyed it. The thing that they messed up on is that, well, in my opinion, is that they introduced this fork in the road. I'm all for trying new things, and I don't think this was super disastrous by any means, but I don't think I prefer it, namely because 2 teams get eliminated. So if you're going to introduce to us 14 teams, it just kind of sucks that you eliminate 2 right off the bat. And then for the racers themselves, it's just super tragic to lose 2 teams. It's tragic for them to be put in that situation. And we lost some very wholesome teams today, so that's kind of disappointing. But yeah, like 14 teams, way better than Amazing Race Canada's 10 teams. It just creates a more competitive atmosphere. Yeah, and for the teams itself, for the fork in the road, if only one team is eliminated, it would be a 1 in 14 chance of being eliminated. But then if you eliminate 2, it goes from 1 in 7. So it just doubles your chances of being eliminated. And the fact that the 7th place team to like arrive at any mat got eliminated is just wild. The other problem with the fork in the road is that it basically was just a detour, and then you just have to pick which task of the detour. I'd rather they have done like 2 completely separate legs, like from the beginning, so that it was more competitive, because it just really came down to this one challenge. The other thing, yeah, the leg design. Not a big fan because the roadblock kind of sucked. I did really appreciate, what's their team? The team that got eliminated, Jackie and Lauren. I don't know if it was Jackie who did the roadblock or Lauren, but the only thing I appreciated about that roadblock was we got that very wholesome moment. Honestly, it made me smile a lot when they finally got the clue, and she had talked about that it was just kind of like this out of body experience. It's just very cool to see people succeeding at the things that may have seemed hard for them. So I really thought that was a special moment, and it just sucks that they got eliminated. Yeah, the leg design. So, but the roadblock really sucked because what makes a good roadblock is that it causes a change of placements, or it separates teams out. So the fact that after this roadblock, 13 teams were on the same ferry, it just like this roadblock was like a nothing burger, and it didn't really make for entertaining TV, other than that one part. But in terms of the actual makeup of the race, it didn't really do much for me. Prize. Ding. Yeah, I'm just kind of going all over the place. My notes are kind of all over the place. But yeah, the editing was interesting. There were 2 times where they made a mistake. There was this visual for the fork in the road, which was helpful, where it was like you have the sing challenge and then the dancing challenge. And there were 2 times where they didn't have the correct display. So, for example, Han and Holden, I think they showed them choose the dance task after they showed the visual. I don't know if I'm making sense. And then also with that one team, that competitive team, who are they? Jonathan and Anna. I'll talk about them in a little bit. But what was it with them? They showed that they had completed with the check. They completed the challenge with a check mark before they actually showed them complete the challenge. So it's just like editing things like this. Like how is this a television show and they're not making sure that it's flowing correctly? I don't know. At the same time, I did appreciate when it shows like when the flight landed, like the exact time. I'm really interested in like all the numbers and when teams arrive and depart and things like that. So I appreciated that transparency. They probably did that because it would make more sense how the other teams caught up from the second flight. But nonetheless, I appreciated that. And yeah, let's just talk about some of the teams here. Jonathan and Anna, I've read on Twitter. I peruse Twitter quite often. And I'm on Amazing Race Twitter, which is not a really big community, which kind of sucks, unlike Survivor. But a lot of people are calling Jonathan a sore loser. And yeah, I agree. He's being a sore loser. But at the same time, I really appreciate his intensity. Yeah, you come across, it reminded me of like a Justin and Diana situation, where, there's a very intense couple. I mean, more so Jonathan so far, and just like not settling anything else except for first, even though it's like a rootable villain type of team. So I appreciate them, even though I'm not necessarily rooting for them. And then, another thing I appreciated, not only were they really intense, but they seemed very race savvy. So like when they were waiting for the ferry, they're like, okay, we'll make the most of our time. Let's figure out like the next directions, and things like this. So I really appreciated that. Let's talk about the eliminated teams. So Mark and Larry, yeah, they got screwed. Is that Mark and Larry? Yeah, they got screwed. I really appreciate the teams, or maybe there's only one person on a team where they're not very well traveled. I think that makes for very compelling television. It just sucks that usually these teams don't make it far, and in their case, yeah, they didn't make it far. They got eliminated. But yeah, it was another wholesome moment at the mat where one of them was basically telling the other how much they mean to them, and just very, very wholesome. And I wished we saw more of them. Same goes with Jackie and Lauren. Seemed great. They seemed like they killed the singing challenge. And so, yeah, another thing I saw people online talk about, like, oh, stairs, this and that. And it's like, yeah, I mean, the Amazing Race, they're not going to choose necessarily the most competitive teams or who they think is going to do well the most. They want to get people from all different experiences and comfort levels and things like this. So I appreciated them. I guess maybe I should just go through each team. Carson and Jack got first. They really impressed me. They seem like they are very well prepared and excited to be there, and I appreciate the energy. Brett and Mark, at first I thought that the strategy with the fork in the road, you don't want to pick the task that already has a lot of people, because I think they were maybe the 5th person to put their name on the list, but they knew their strengths and they were right. So, I mean, I guess if you are like work in the circus or work in dancing, like it just makes a lot of sense. So, you know. Okay, there were a couple teams where just got completely purpled. Ernest and Bridget, Bernie and Kerrigan, and Han and Holden. Like all 3 of these teams, I know nothing about. They didn't have any intro package, and they didn't even show them like do the detour, the fork in the road. And it's like that's messed up. Just show them like 3 seconds of them doing the thing, you know. And yeah, they just got completely purpled. I mean, it's probably because they were in the middle of the pack of each of their fork in the road tasks, but yeah, it makes me think they're not going to win because there was no edit on them. Nick and Mike, I smiled when they said they applied 7 times. Like I've applied 4 times now, and I haven't even gone to call back, but I guess it's sort of inspiring to know that, you know, it can still happen. You know, they explained it really well where all it takes is 1 yes. So I appreciated that. Courtney and Jasmine, I learned something today that you probably should show the driver in their native like language, like the exact of the wording of the place you want to go, not just like the English way of saying it. So that was interesting. And they made the great game decision of seeing who's on the list in the dance to have a fighting chance. Because if they had picked Sing, they would have been eliminated. Or most likely eliminated. Alyssa and Josiah, yeah, seem competitive team. Seem like they're willing to do it all. So Jonathan and Anna talked about them. Scott and Lori, interestingly, they had like a big edit, so it makes me think they're gonna go pretty far in the season. Like excessively showed them, which was fine because they seemed hilarious and I appreciated their backstory. So Pops and Jeff surprised those judges. The judges were like, oh, these guys were really good, at least at the singing task. Yeah, I like them. Belinda and Erica, also another team, they didn't really show much. It was funny to me that they were trying to show how maybe they would have gone on last, but there was like absolutely no way. And yeah, my overall thoughts is that this is a very competitive cast. There are some casts in previous seasons where, I mean, there's like a good handful of teams that you just know like are not going to make it. But yeah, I'm impressed with what I'm seeing so far. I appreciated the fork in the road tasks because they seemed difficult, unlike the roadblock. The leg design could have been much better. And oh, another thing on the leg design with the Buddha, like it was kind of lame that they didn't go all the way to the top. They just kind of stopped like maybe 2/3 of the way through. And it was as simple as just picking up a clue and then they had to take a ferry back. It just seemed like a waste of time why they thought that was a good idea in terms of the race design, in terms of the race designers. I wish they did something else, like they could have made it harder, you know, like, okay, you have to count how many steps it got to reach the clue box, or just something like a route info, you know, it just, and then, you know, that's what causes like the bunching up of the 13 teams or something like that. So I didn't really like that as much. Anyway, so those are some quick thoughts. I'm sure I had other thoughts about it, but that's kind of what on the top of my head. So I don't know if I'm going to do more of this. If you guys enjoyed what I had to say, if you disagree with anything, yeah, comment below. I love The Amazing Race, and I look forward to the rest of the season. Okay, bye.